2025 70.3 Des Moines. We are heading up here June 8th of this year, so in a couple of weeks here it is going to be race day. Without further ado, let's kick off to some course insights. Before we get into that, if you like what you see, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you are interested in coaching, please reach out. Contact information is down below. If you want to read some of the Substack publications, that's also linked down below as well. We just started that, so after the weeks go by, we'll have more and more up there for you to read and you to learn. And let's kick things off with our event schedule this year. So on Friday, June 6th, that's where things start. 2 to 7 p.m. is athlete check-in. Athlete briefings are 3 and 5. On Saturday, June the 7th, athlete check-in 9 to 4 p.m. AWA priority ends at noon, so get there early if you are. Mandatory bike check-in and timing chip pickup 10 to 5 p.m. Athlete briefings are thrice 10 a.m., noon, and 2 p.m. Sunday, June the 8th is race day. Transition opens 5 a.m. to 6:15 a.m. Race start is 6:30, and I'll tell you why that is in a minute. Shuttles from transition to Cowles Common. That's going to start from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Shuttles from the finish area to the transition 10 a.m. to 5. Athlete post-race food tent is going to be there. Bike and gear checkout awards ceremony taking place at 4 p.m. right there as well. And this is our course overview this year. So they have classified this a lake swim, rolling bike, and a flat run. It is pretty much flat here. High air temperature 80 degrees, low about 60. Average water temperature is 72. Years past below, we have no water data 22, 75 degrees and 23. Last year it was 74 degrees for your water temperature there. Highs for 22 was 77, for 23 it was 76, and for 2024 it was 80 degrees. So it has the potential to be a hot one. So plan ahead out here. This is our swim course. Looking at some of the maps that they have provided, this is the swim course as well. Finish is here, start is here, your transition is located here, so we're going to have to get around to that start area over there. That's why the transition closes a little bit earlier than you would typically expect it to see from the close and to the race start here. So how should we navigate this swim? Well, this is a very one of the more complicated swims out here, so more comfortable swimmers are going to thrive here a little bit more. It's going to be a little more comfortable for them to navigate some of the waters here. Weaker swimmers are going to pay the price here because there's so many twists and turns, and they got to make this work in a kind of a small lake here. Starting off, first side over here, we're swimming away from the sun. Happy days there, so no matter what side you breathe, it's going to be great. This is typically a faster section of course. This is less disorienting. It's pretty straightforward, pun intended, and because of that, everyone just gets up and they really bunch up. It's going to happen. Stronger swimmers, you're probably going to break away from people. Mid-pack of swimmers, you're probably not going to be able to get away from people here. When you do make this left-hand turn a little bit sharper than what you might normally be used to, again, that's okay. Don't overthink it. It's just a turn. Even if you turn a little wide over here, if you correct over the course of the duration of this section here, you'll be much better off most times than zigzagging your way to the turn over here. The only reason I would overcorrect for you, or only reason I would really overcorrect if you find that you've missed sight, is to get on the back of a group or to take advantage of some drafting that way. But, if you're not doing that, don't really need to worry about it. There it is again. We have our second turn, and we're going to be turning into the sun over here. If it is sunny, hopefully it is. This is one of the more disorienting places. You will be experiencing people on the bridge over here. If you look at some of the photos and things like that on the race landing page, you'll see a great photo of that, or a small couple second video. But this section here, really, really popular section. Athletes love it. Spectators love it. It's great. It's awesome. It's the best. When you turn over here, that's where the race kind of breaks up a little bit. You have a lot of that motivation and desire to go a little bit faster just because you're seeing people while you're swimming, which is really cool here. But as you turn away over here, right-handed breathers are going to pay the price for sure. And this is where a lot of the race gets broken up. Athletes will think that when they get to this section here that they're pretty much done with the swim, and that is definitely not the case. You have a good chunk of change left to go. But I would expect most groups to be broken up here and most people to be swimming with their swim buddies at this point in time. As we make our second, backing up a little bit, again, a little bit of a unique situation here because you're going to have to be on the right side of this buoy, the right side of this buoy, the right side of this buoy. You're likely going to have to be on the left side of that buoy and the left side of that buoy. So it will switch about halfway through our swim here, which on the sides that which you do have to stay on those buoys. I would expect there to be people pushing you out over here, so it's going to be pretty much impossible to make that mistake. So don't really stress about that. No really need to do that. This stretch is usually pretty quick. People want to get done with the swim. I would let people pull you along, get some of that benefit, that draft benefit, uh, if they're willing to do it for you. If you're swimming alone, you're swimming your pace, and I would be very, very mindful of how hard you're going here just because you're going to have to get ready for the bike in a second because you're going to take another right-hand turn and you are out onto the bike. That's our swim. Our bike here, it's really twisty and turny. It snakes through the first little bit here. I will go through it in more detail for you. Again, this is blown out for you. You're going to start out of the transition area and you're going to head up over here following the black arrows, zigging and zagging. You do go around this loop. That's going to be the only time you do that. And then you're going to head out onto the main way and out you go. That's going to net you right about there. And then you're going to keep zigging and zagging. You're going to follow the road over here. There is a little turnaround section that you have to do, and then you are out onto the main drag. What that means for you is a couple of different things here. Let's go ahead to our wind finder. So I'm going to roll through a couple of the days really quickly. This is the water where you're going to be swimming that lake right there, and then the race is going to take place right around here. So we're right over our area, and this is typically what you're going to get. This is in the next couple of days here. We're recording this April 16th. The next day, April 18th, we are going down. April 19th, the wind's going this way. The 20th, it's going this way. The 21st, it's going this way. The 22nd, it's going here. But for our sake, our purposes here, we are going to be watching a race simulation with the wind that is doing something like this on race day. What that means for you is on the way out, you're pretty much going to experience a ton of headwinds. Aid stations, before we really dive in, aid stations, the first one is right here before mile 15. Let's call that mile 13. And then on the way back, you're going to experience your second aid station. That's going to come at mile 32, 33. I can give you specifics here in a second. And that's it. Only two on this course. They might add a third. I don't know, but make sure you do watch that. Make sure you watch these maps and the race leading up to it. But as of right now, I would plan for 2 aid stations out there. They are going to have the Mortal out there, so if you're not used to Mortal, make sure you're taking that now and make sure you're practicing with it. All that good stuff, yada yada. Here we go. Here's our race course. This is the terrain map. I'll switch it for everyone to make it a little easier on the eyes. And this is going to be typically what you get. When you talk about from a power standpoint, this is going to be our speed, the orange line, but I'm going to take that away. I want you to watch the cyclist in the bottom right-hand corner as we roll over here. And I'm going to scroll down so we can get a better gauge here. But as we start out, when we are snaking our way right next to the river over there, we are experiencing a lot of headwinds, a lot of crosswinds. When we do turn around to get onto the main drag, we are going to experience a tailwind, and that's going to come right around there, right around here at that 4.5 mile marker. And as we make our way around here, that is going to push us. It's going to feel great. Be careful not to overdo that section. We do have, it's a little more technical than you want it to be. So starting from about here, you're going to have that tailwind and you're going to loop. We do have a sharper couple of turns right through here. And then we have another sharp turn getting back out onto our our main drag race course here. So be very, very careful with that. Don't overdo that section. It's going to be really, really easy to do. So backing it up. As we make our way out, again, watching the bottom right of our cyclist over there, we are going to be experiencing a headwind or a crosswind, probably a combination of the two, pretty much up until mile 12. All right, so for the most part, for the first 12 miles, you have a headwind. After we hit this section here, we're going to have a crosswind, and then it's going to flip right around mile 12, 12 and a half. Right, for this out and back section here, we're going to follow, and we are going to have a great tailwind. But again, that goes until about 14.6 in this scenario. All right, and that's going to change some of the dynamics if it's different. So this is what we got here. When we turn around, headwind, and that's crosswind, and it's headwind pretty much all the way up to our turnaround point up here. Once we do hit this turnaround at 26, 27 miles, things change a little bit. We are going to have a crosswind coming back down because that's the way the wind is. But as we get further and further down, that's going to slowly turn and it's going to have a tailwind. Once we get to about here, 30 miles on our race course, where that aid station is, this is going to be another fast section if the wind is going to be doing exactly this on race day. But as we turn around mile 41, we have our headwind again here. So what you want to avoid, right, when mile 30-ish all the way to mile 41, you want to be going fast. You should be going fast, but you shouldn't be overdoing it going fast, okay? There's definitely a difference. If you find yourself tucked in that arrow position for the entire time, you're not getting out of it, you're probably going to pay the price later on because when we hit that headwind section again, you're going to need to be an arrow, and if you need to get out and stretch and do all that stuff in the headwind, it's going to be a little more costly for you. So as we turn around, we're going to be greeted with a nice headwind or a crosswind, and that's going to pretty much last until we get to this section over here, and we're going to be pushed through our transition area there. So as I sped through that, hopefully you guys gathered that there's going to be a lot of headwind out here. Rolling around over here, you could see the what we talked about before, the weather conditions here. That's usually about a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind. In our simulation over here, we only have about a 10, and then as it kicks up later on, we have about a 12 mile an hour wind later on in our race. So it's going to be a race against the wind for a lot of us, right? If we can get that course done a little bit faster, this athlete's targeting about 2 hours and 45 minutes. If they can knock off about 10 minutes, in training leading up to it, they're going to have probably a better day. They're going to have to battle one less thing on race day. So that's our power plan. This is usually what you're going to expect. Let's eliminate speed, let's eliminate elevation, and so you can get a good sense of what is happening out here on race day. First couple of sections is busy. You're going to have a pretty steady power until you get out over there, and then once you get out, it changes slightly. You have a lot of these. A lot of surges is probably a good word, a lot of peaks in power. And that is not by accident, that's not a mistake. If you look at the terrain, right? If you look at the terrain, it's pretty busy here. It is pretty busy, and it's going to be what you get out here pretty much for the remainder of the day after about 12 and a half miles. It's going to happen a little before. You're going to get a little precursor mile 6, but it's going to calm down a little bit, and mile 12 and a half is usually where it kind of kicks off a little bit. You're away from the water, and anytime you do that in most places, the elevation does kick up and it gets a little spicy over here. Because of the spiciness, we're not talking major hills over here, but we are talking 2 to 3% grades, not for very long, but for long enough to kind of make it painful. And what going back to our surges over here, and what you really need to do on a course like this, when it's straightforward and safe and all that good stuff, you really need to be driving those downhills to make those uphills a little bit smaller, right? It's just like you do online in one of your virtual platforms, whether it's Training Peaks Virtual or Zwift or MyWhoosh or whatever you got. If you drive some of those downhills, those uphills don't seem so bad. You can eat up a lot of elevation. Same thing out here. But you need to do that in a way that's not going to burn a lot of matches. If you're doing it every single time, that's going to be a huge problem. So you do have to find that line or ability and to do it in training and replicate that in your race. If you're not doing it, highly recommend you start doing it ASAP, right? So as we continue on through our race, things do calm down a little bit. You can see that the section here when we are coming back, the power is a little bit lower, but you're going to be hit with a couple of surges, a couple of bigger ones later on. And then as you hit the little turnaround, which is located right there, you're going to be greeted with a nice couple of surges for you. And this is going to be where, in my opinion, your race is going to really be won or lost if you're hitting one of those podium positions. This is where it's going to happen on the bike later on. You're going to turn around, you're going to hit that headwind. If you've really overdone it for those first 40 miles, this is going to be where it's going to come back to bite you. You're going to have to battle the wind. You're going to probably have to battle a couple of other athletes out here. And the wind is usually the thing that gets most athletes out here. Again, think back to that temperature that we might have. We might have an 80-degree day out here. If that is the case, this is going to start to be where it gets really hot or a little uncomfortable out there for you. Combat with the wind, combat with your previous effort levels, and things could get a little spicy very quickly, right? Let's talk about zones for a second. Zones. If you followed our channel, you can see that some of the flatter races pretty much have the power in one zone. In this race or in this on this course, you do have a couple different zones to account for. 30 minutes in zone 4, just a couple in zone 5, and that's probably coming at this spot. If I can switch it for you right here. But this is going to be what you're going to get on race day, at least typically in the 6-zone model out here. We've already talked about weather, so let's dive into time analysis. If you decrease your drag over the course of this course, you save about 30 seconds. Power, if you increase it by 1%, you're netting yourself 41 seconds. Hot dog. If you drop down your weight just a little bit, you're saving about 10 seconds. Relatively flat out here. And your rolling resistance, if you drop it down, we are saving 6 seconds out here. So before we toggle all the settings, remember that we only have about 2,100 feet of elevation gain, give or take. I believe they have listed it differently. Yeah, about let's call it 2K. So we are rocking a little bit more than what is listed out there on their thing. But if you do decrease your drag and you do increase your power, let's say 2% out here, you are saving 2 minutes easy. If you're not going to change your tires or improve your rolling resistance at all, you're only going to save yourself about 1 minute and 50 seconds, which only could be a huge time savings if you are vying for one of those podium spots or just a PR in general. So just a little PSA for you PR goers out there, which hopefully is everyone. And that's our bike, believe it or not. A couple of things that you should also be mindful of: that aero position, don't lock yourself in it. That first starting, let's call it the first starting 10 miles, very, very big red flag. Make sure you're watching your power and pace and all that good stuff. Very common for athletes to overdo it, overshoot it in those miles. So just be careful there. Huge, huge pitfall in this race. Also, that tailwind section, another crazy spot for you to watch out for. And the reason it's crazy, it's kind of a sneaky spot. Most people don't expect you to overdo it in that tailwind section if it is going this way. And just be careful over there. In my mind, you want to put your stamp on the course when you hit this turnaround point right here, and then you zoom all the way back up to transition. If the weather is going this way. All of this is negated if the weather is going the opposite direction. It changes the dynamics a ton. If you are experiencing a wind pattern that goes something like this, you're going to be shot out of a cannon for the first good bit duration of this race. You're also going to go fast here, but this stretch, let's change our thing right here. This stretch right here becomes the new, really, really high priority, high value area on the way back, because you're gonna you're gonna have a headwind on the way back in as well, but you just need to be mindful of that. So you want to get to this spot right here ready to work for the remainder of the race, essentially. And that is the bike, believe it or not, done and dusted. The run. So the run's a little bit unique. The run, where this is our transition area right here, we are going to start out heading out this way, and we are going to turn around. This is our 2-mile mark and 3-mile mark, and then you're going to run all the way up to the baseball field. You're going to run around, hit the transition again. You're going to repeat that same thing all the way down, all the way up, and then when you hit this section here, you're going to take a right-hand turn. That's going to be the only time you do this section here. You are going to zig and zag all the way to the finish line. So let's talk about the elevation. Elevation, this is what you're pretty much going to get out here on race day. Might be slightly different, might be a tad different, but if you look at those maps over here, this is pretty close representation of what you're going to get out on race day. You can see here that my course is a little bit different than what they have. This out and back section has been moved since I created this just 2 days ago. So this has been updated out here, and the turnaround has been extended over this way. So what that means for us, this elevation that comes right here, from here to here, is nothing. Right? It doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. Goodbye. Instead, for us, we're going to continue some of this downhill gradient to the transit, not to the transition, to the turnaround, which I would assume happens right over here a little bit more. And that's going to make this hill a little bit longer. But again, we're going to max out at this spot at around 1% before it drops down again. And you're running pretty normal after that. A lot of ups and downs over here, but not a lot of total elevation, which is pretty common out here. It's what you're going to get. Similar to the bike, you're going to want to watch your surges on the uphill. At the very beginning, you're going to feel like this is great, it's awesome, it's grand, and by the end, you're going to feel like, wow, that was the hardest easy course I've ever done in my life, and that's because of those mini surges, those mini elevation changes that you're going to experience out here on race day. Very, very common for athletes to hit these surges and just fly up it, fly down it. If you do that enough times, your quads are going to go, and your running form is going to slide, and you're going to go by the wayside. So what you need to be doing is actively monitoring things. Great, great course for run power. If you do run with power, highly recommend it. And this is also going to be a great, great, great course to set a PR if you are ready. That's a big asterisk right there. Depending on what you do on the bike is going to impact this run tremendously. So be careful out here on the run. If you're looking for your aid stations, we did not talk about those yet. When you do go out, you're not going to experience any mortal hydration right here. 2, 3 back over here. I would expect that this one is going to be double-sided. You're going to go from what, mile 4 ish all the way to mile 8 without any aid. Doesn't sound right to me. So I would assume that both of these are double-sided aid stations. Something to keep in mind when you do go and arrive at the athlete check-in, at the transition. Make sure you're checking the maps, making sure everything is hunky-dory there. Ask that question, and if it's not double-sided, that will change dynamics, but I would assume it's going to be double-sided. Sorry for the rant. Back to our race day dynamics. What you're going to get out here is a lot of elements. You're not going to be shaded by them. You're not going to be covered by them. You're going to be exposed. It's going to be, it can be a very hot race. So remember, a lot of athletes come here and don't expect it to be super hot, and it can be, and it sometimes is super hot. Okay, be careful, watch your heat protocols, make sure you're doing all the good stuff, and you are changing any of those negative things that happened out there on the bike. I keep saying that, but everyone usually ignores it, and they get to mile 3 or 4 on the run, and then they start changing it. Make sure you are monitoring things on the bike to set yourself up for run success out here. I would use this as an opportunity to, use this course rather, as an opportunity to target something about, let's call it 500 yards in front of you. You can see it, or 300 yards, and try to get there as fast as you can. Target the next thing, target the next thing, target the next thing. I like to do people targeting out here. You look at for someone that's ahead of you and say, okay, I'm going to catch that person. Boom. Once you get to that person, I'm going to get to the next person. I'm going to get to the next person. If you're not having a great day, maybe you do landmarks instead, and you take it out of the element, the people element, and you just take it to something that's not moving. If you are having a really bad day, make sure you're evaluating nutrition, hydration, calories, electrolytes, water, all of that, and seeing where you have fallen off and fixing that ASAP. Okay. That's our run. That's our 70.3 Des Moines. Again, if you like what you see, make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. This is pretty much what you're going to get out here on the bike, on the run. This is not going to take place this year, but this is our lake swim, zigging and zagging, and that's the bridge I was talking about out here. Great race out here. Hopefully everyone does really, really well. Make sure you reach out if you have any questions, and good luck to everyone on the 2025 edition Ironman Des Moines 73.